Tuesday, October the 26th. Payne Stewart crashed. Did he hit a birdie? Disgrace wins Booker Prize. But is it better than the Rats? Meat Wars. The beef hits the fan. Yes, he's back. Please put your hands together for the hardest working man in television, Mr. Ian Lee.
Hello, what are you doing here? Told you not to come again. And you. Hello and welcome to the new series of the 11 o'clock show. It's good to be back. And yes, of course, Booker Prize debate is gripping the nation. Well, that part of the nation that reads the big papers while an underpaid East European girl dresses the kids. The rest of us are gripped by more important things, like the sheer gall of the Gallic French who won't eat our poisoned beef. In case you missed it, J.M. Coetzee has won the Booker Prize. It's a great name for a prize for books, if you think about it. The Booker Prize. Load of blokes read a load of books and choose their favourite. Easy. Next year, of course, I'm hoping to judge the Booby Prize. Also tonight, we've just had the National Television Awards, at which I'm proud to say we won the best third series of a 3 nights a week late-night topical comedy show hosted by a thin bloke and a girl too good-looking to even look at him if he wasn't on the Telly Award. It's true, and apparently you can get an award for almost anything these days. If it's not art, it's your arse. This week, Denise Van Outen and Robbie Williams both won Rear of the Year awards. Robbie recently got his out on stage mid-concert, presumably because he wanted the audience to hear his lyrics. I don't know. But now, please welcome the woman who always makes an arse of me. It's Miss Daisy Donovan. Daisy, you're looking beautiful. What have you been up to over the summer?
I've organised NetAid, I swam the channel, and I also learnt to moonwalk.
Fantastic.
Which was a boon, yeah.
Fantastic.
What about you?
Well, mainly playing PlayStation and wanking. Absolutely true. Daisy, tell us what's coming up on tonight's show.
Tonight, I'll be talking to wannabe London Mayor, Glenda Jackson.
You know, and the arts were starting to be revered and portrayed in the media. And, you know, were you consciously trying to be part of that liberation, you know, being at Ronnie Scott's, appearing in jazz mags?
No, I don't think I was aware of it at all.
Really?
And we'll be talking to the godfather of punk, Malcolm McLaren.
Now here's the headlines. Today's main story is the shocking revelation that French farmers have been feeding cattle human excrement. French restaurants have been unmoved and continue to offer steaks well done, medium, rare and runny.
Local councillors in Blackpool have announced plans to import French cows to help clean up Britain's beaches.
The French agriculture minister denied there was anything wrong and then popped into a Chinese restaurant and ordered a number 2.
The French beef row escalates and Anthony Worrell Thompson removes all traces of shit from his restaurant. He erases the entire menu and then throws himself out.
Experts say there is no difference between a British burger and a French one. They fall between two stools.
We've received an explanation for the shocking lapse in security at the Millennium Ferris wheel. Apparently, they sneaked on while the bloke in charge was showing his tattoos to a 13-year-old girl and asking if she fancied a toffee apple.
And those are today's headlines.
As we've just seen, the beef war is still the biggest meat-based story in the news. But how many more cows must die before this terrible conflict will end?
Here's Paul Garner with his report.
Despite an EU report that French livestock has been fed on a diet of human and animal sewage, the government today issued a statement saying that dangerous French beef is in fact safe. Political novice, Agriculture Minister Nick Brown proved today that British beef isn't the only thing that's now spineless when he refused to ban French meat.
One must assume that French beef is safe to eat.
With a typically flagrant disregard for European law, France has refused to lift its ban on British beef imports. This has prompted an angry reaction from the British media, who are fed up with these French cheats. Farmers have been protesting on both sides of the English Channel today. Our farmers held a dignified and hygienic protest in Dover last night, whereas the French reacted with all the charm and restraint you'd expect from your Gallic types. So the government has declared that French meat, although disgusting, is quite safe. But will the good British public continue to take matters into their own hands? and boycott French goods.
Rather than starting some kind of tit-for-tat trade war, it would be better if we took the French to court and sorted it out that way.
Well, it's more like tit for shit, isn't it? Because, I mean, basically they've been feeding their animals on sewage and we've been asked to eat it.
Well, I think that's one interpretation.
French meat, it's made of shit. Would you eat it?
I have eaten it. I've eaten it very recently. I found it delicious. I think to describe it as being raised on shit is perhaps a bit melodramatic.
After nuclear testing, the sales of Exocets to the Arges, the cowardly bombing of the Rainbow Warrior and the despicable shortage of World Cup 98 tickets available to English fans, the message the British public seem to be sending to the French is enough is enough, Monsieur. This is Paul Garner for the 11 o'clock show in central London.
Now, here's the news just in.
Fertility News, a controversial website, is selling the eggs of catwalk models as an opportunity for childless couples to have beautiful babies. Why shouldn't women get eggs over the internet? I've been getting spunk over my computer for years.
I can see it now. Congratulations, your baby is 8 pounds 6 ounces. That's a pound heavier than the mother.
Potential parents won't have to worry about sleepless nights. Model babies won't get out of bed in the morning for less than 10,000 quid.
Parents who leave their kids unsupervised in public libraries are to be fined £500. A spokesman for the library said, shh.
Britain's relationship with China was strengthened this week when President Zhang attended the Queen's banquet. Prince Philip ingratiated himself with the president, saying that his wife had good tits for a slitty-eyed bird.
And finally, Victoria Adams' sister-in-law, Lynn Beckham, got married at the weekend. The bride and groom were toasted in Baby Sham, Posh Sham and Scary Sham.
And that was the news just in. Glenda Jackson was in the news this weekend when she was rushed into hospital to have her wonky appendix removed. You spoke to her recently, didn't you, Daisy?
Yes, Ian, I did indeed.
And did she seem to be in any discomfort?
Well, see what you think.
Today, I'm proud to meet a double Oscar-winning former government minister who could be the next mayor of London. She's never been out of the spotlight. It's Glenda Jackson. Glenda, thank you very much for joining us today. You were very creative, very artistic, you know, and the arts were starting to be revered and portrayed in the media. And, you know, were you consciously trying to be part of that liberation, you know, being at Ronnie Scott's, appearing in jazz mags?
No, I don't think I was aware of it at all.
Really?
No.
So you didn't want to appear, you know, at Ronnie Scott's, be...
Well, jazz
part of the
had no
jazz
part of my
magazine?
life at all.
What is the core of acting? Is it about getting into a part, or more importantly, sort of getting that great big part inside of you?
Neither, I think, really.
Did you think that, you know, as you entered into it,
Yeah.
you know, if it's the last thing I do, I'll lick Mrs. Thatcher?
No, I mean, that was an absurdity. I couldn't lick Mrs. Thatcher. I wasn't contesting her seat.
You were an MP. You became Junior Transport Minister in '97. You were at the forefront of British politics, and now, in the race to be mayor, you're back at the bottom. Front, bottom. How does it
Well,
feel?
I don't share your view of what the mayoral job is.
No,
you know.
no. I totally understand. But it's the actual race. It's about, you know, front, bottom. How does it feel?
Well, I don't understand what you mean by front bottom.
But it must have been such a coup in a way to be individually fingered by Tony Blair.
But we weren't individually fingered by Tony Blair.
Now, you know, you've got a heavy time ahead of you, and you're always on duty as a
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
you've got to be on call
That's
for your
true.
constituents 24 hours a day. So, you know, you're always on. How do you bring yourself off?
Well, they always say if you need a job doing, give it to a busy woman, and I think that is the case.
That's the end of part one. Coming up in part two, we'll be talking double Dutch with Malcolm McLaren.
General Musharraf of Pakistan, General Pinochet and Alex Ferguson. All despots who've been in the news recently. Here's John Peel to tell us about one of his favourites, 70s dictator Papa Doc Duvalier.
I always remember the first time I met the dictator, Papa Doc Duvalier. As far as I remember, it was actually Andy Kershaw's idea. He'd presumed that with a name like Papa Doc, he was some kind of blues singer. Of course, he wasn't at all. He was actually a terrible despot. And we arrived in Haiti anyway, and Papa Doc insisted on trying to impress us with his guitar playing. Eventually, his wife, Mama Doc, came in, and she brought in some lovely little nibbles and also some rather bizarrely coloured drinks. And Kershaw and myself both started drinking them, not realising they actually possessed voodoo properties, and unfortunately I, under the power of voodoo, had for some reason agreed to give a session to Ton Ton McCoot, who at that point I presumed were a trio from Barnsley, not realising in fact they were a bunch of bloodthirsty militiamen. Nevertheless, they honoured the session, and immediately I could tell they were rather leery and had probably been drinking, and you couldn't orchestrate them at all, and they ended up starting to smash up the equipment, and eventually we managed to get rid of most of them. 3 of them, I think, kidnapped Kid Jensen, while the 4th one, I think, ended up becoming a drummer for Napalm Death.
Welcome back to the 11 o'clock show.
Now it's time for crime news. The crime figures out today show a dramatic increase because the government has developed a new method of counting crime. What may appear as one crime can actually be made up of lots of little ones.
To give you an idea, if, say, Richard Madeley were to steal 18 bottles of wine from a Manchester Tesco's, that would count as 18 separate crimes, not just one, as it did when he didn't nick them and it didn't happen. But here's some crimes that have just happened this week.
A cheating wife who plotted her husband's murder has been jailed after being trapped by a lip reader. The lip reader caught the woman on video mouthing the words, "I want to kill my husband!"
A schizophrenic sex pest who kissed strangers' bottoms has been banned from the London Underground. Apparently, he didn't mind the gap.
It's been reported that the murder inquiry of BBC darling Jill Dando has cost £2 million. ITV have put in a bid to do it for £5 million.
In India, 4 drunken elephants rampaged through a village, destroying buildings and killing 4 people. A judge has called the trial a media circus.
Britain's oldest spy, Melita Norwood, has been told by the Home Office that she may still face charges of treason. On hearing the news, her shocked husband said, "I don't believe it." That was tonight's crime news. Now it's time for today's guest. Never mind the intro, here's Malcolm McLaren. I think I'm feeling very well as well. Nice to meet you. Now, Malcolm, we've asked you to explain some things to us, if you don't mind.
What's that?
Well, manufactured bands dominating the charts with Westlife at #1, their 3rd #1. Would it be fair of us to blame you for starting the trend of manufactured bands?
Yeah, probably.
Really?
I think it came about by the fact of sheer boredom. But I think now, probably the real thing, if I was to advise any 15-year-old,
what would you say?
Was actually to become a porn star. It's much cooler. It's much more real.
Porn has become cool all of a sudden, hasn't it? It's kind of the
well,
hit
because it's
thing.
been karaoke for a long time, and now you can do it for real. So you're much more authentic, and I think you've got a better chance of making headway and becoming a
Or you've got a better
celebrity.
chance of getting head, at least.
No question.
That's the
And I
thing.
think you can enjoy it a lot more.
You're not making a porn film, are you? Is this why you keep... Because if you need a tall, skinny bloke with a big cock... I'm your man. Now, you're seen as the originator of punk. Can you define what punk was? Or not?
Of being an artful dodger, really.
Really?
After the Sex Pistols, you went on to manage Adamant.
Very briefly, I didn't really manage. I never really managed anybody. I only mismanaged people.
Well...
And all I did was with Adam was he was a bit of a tart, really, and I wanted to make him look more angry, so I gave him the stripe that Geronimo always wore when he went into battle, and that white stripe I knew would excite people on TV.
Why don't you think it caught on?
Because he probably became like a figure out of pantomime.
Maybe.
He never took any drugs, and he didn't really drink anything. He was fucking boring.
Now, Malcolm, you've been extensively quoted over the years, but can you remember exactly what you've said? We're going to give you a series of quotes. Some are by you, and some are taken from other people in the news this week. See if you can remember if you said them or if someone else. Who said about being brought up by his grandmother, "I slept in her bed until the age of 13 and she held me under her spell throughout the whole of my youth"? Was it you or was it Prince William?
That was me, actually.
It was you, Malcolm. You remember that? Well done. Who said, "I've never resorted to plastic surgery as far as I can tell"? I'll do that again, but I'll do it properly. Who said, "I've never resorted to plastic surgery and as far as I can tell, I haven't suffered the ravages of time"? Was it you or Brigitte Bardot?
That's definitely Brigitte Bardot.
Yeah, strangely it was Brigitte Bardot in today's Hello magazine.
She hasn't suffered the ravages of time. No.
Looks like a leathery old turkey.
A friend of mine fucked her, though, and said she was brilliant.
Really? Even looking like that, I wouldn't say no. You know. Now,
Probably had a lot of pussycats running all over the bed. She was a bit of an animal freak.
Yeah, I've heard this. Now, final quote. Who said, "I am an artist first and foremost, but I create works using people. I change people. They are my material"? Was it you or was it Tony Hart talking about Morph?
It was definitely me. And it really came from a whole era of deciding art was rather boring and working with people was more interesting.
You're well known for mixing musical genres like rap with opera and coming up with a completely unique creation. So we had to go out ourselves and we tried mixing Mick Hucknall and Marty McCutcheon together. Unfortunately, this was all we could come up with. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. Thank you very much, Mr. Malcolm McLaren. Malcolm, thanks very much. It's a pleasure to meet you. Time to see who today's winners and losers are with the good news and the bad news. Good news. An 81-year-old pensioner has married his 31-year-old girlfriend.
Bad news. He's not a millionaire, you silly tart. He's a retired wire factory worker. Good news. The Millennium Wheel will open on January the 1st.
Bad news. The Millennium Hamster's getting impatient. Good news. Ginger women spend the longest having sex.
Bad news for whoever's shagging Fergie this week. Good news. Cilla Black's husband struck a £4 million deal for her on his deathbed. She'll be on our screens for another 2 years.
Bad news. Cilla Black's husband struck a £4 million deal for her on his deathbed. She'll be on our screens for another 2 years. Good news. A new pill can cure baldness.
Bad news for Ronnie Biggs, who thought he was going to clean up with this ad.
I was involved in the greatest robbery of all time. Which one? The one off the top of my head. Now I've got hair. Yeah. Look, don't do what I did. Go straight to Advanced Hair Studio for your free hair check.
Some might say that's profiting from crime. I say it's making a tit of a senile old thief.
So, as we revealed earlier, models are now selling their eggs over the internet. What do you think about that, Daisy?
I think it's a cracking idea.
Got the wrong eggs, Daisy. But what do the British public think? I went to find out. With the demand for attractive women's eggs at an all-time high, former porn director Ron Harris has decided to cash in on the problem by selling the eggs of gorgeous American models on the internet for up to £90,000. But is this really fair on our British women, ugly and beautiful alike? I've come here to London to find out. This chap is selling women's eggs from inside them on the internet. Good or bad?
Outrageous.
Should men be allowed to donate their eggs as well? If it's not right to sell them on the internet, where is it right to sell them? I mean, Londis, Iceland?
Yeah, proper places by the government.
Should certain women be banned from donating eggs? People like, I don't know, Rose West?
I wouldn't. I would not. I don't know. I don't.
Ira Hindley?
Definitely no. Yeah, definitely banned. Yeah.
Ruby Wax?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
With advances in technology that I've just made up for our viewers, it's now possible to insert animal eggs into a lady. What animal eggs would you use to impregnate a woman?
I don't think I personally would want to use any unless that woman had already given her consent.
You'd never cross an egg with a dolphin's egg so it would have a huge subaquia cock?
No, I think...
So it would appear that most people are against the selling of ladies' eggs. But how would they react if they were given some for free? These eggs are being sold for £90,000 each. We've got about £250,000 worth here. What you can actually do now is take this Petri dish home, crack one off over it, so you just spray your load in there, then put it in an airing cupboard, dark cupboard for 3-4 weeks. They work like sea monkeys, and within a month you'll have a sort of young, attractive child. Would you mind doing that for us as an experiment?
No.
Seriously, just take that home. You've got Naomi Campbell's eggs in there. Take that home, crack one off in there, put it in the airing cupboard. Within a month you'll have some children. Nice one, cheers. So there we have it. Once again, the future of humanity is in the safe hands of sensible British men. This has been Ian Lee, The 11 O'Clock Show, London.
Now time for tonight's closing headlines.
The race row at Ford's troubled Dagenham plant continues. Surely it was Henry Ford himself who said, you can have any colour as long as it's black.
Alcopop sales have fallen rapidly. Apparently teenagers aren't buying them anymore because they don't want to set a bad example for their children.
A new survey on men's toiletries shows that Frenchmen on average use only 2 bars of soap per year, and that's between the lot of them.
Robbie Williams and Gary Barlow are to reunite for children in need. Meanwhile, the other ex-members of Take That are to reunite for Puss in Boots in Panto at Eastbourne.
Also in the pop world, there was widespread surprise at the news that Michael Jackson's son has blonde hair. However, by the time he's 40, he's expected to be a large black man with an afro.
And those are tonight's closing headlines.
Well, that's about it for tonight. Just time to tell you about tomorrow night's guest, Exorcist star Linda Blair. Apparently, she's very keen to appear on the show. In fact, I heard she was gagging for it.
And finally, in the wake of the Stephen Lawrence inquiry, police unveil new community-friendly methods of approaching black motorists. Sleep well.
Don't have nightmares. Good night.
Good night.
And there's more from those alternative news junkies tomorrow and Thursday at around about the same time, 11ish.